late June, and my cats are acting up, so it's time to film a video. I'm dressed comfy today. I'm in my rocking chair, and I've got my fireplace lit, or my fake fireplace lit, and I'm ready to talk about the books that I have read. I almost said this semester. This first half of the year. That's how my brain works. When you're in school, like that's all your brain sees is first semester, second semester, and like maybe summer and winter break. But a lot of the time, I don't even break those up. So I've actually read 30 out of my goal of 62 for this semester. Praise God for graphic novel class. And so I'm actually feeling pretty good about that. I've got a lot of books queued up, like on my Kindle and in real life. And I don't know if I'm going to get to them until like after Thanksgiving when my teaching stuff is done. So we'll see. But let's start. I've got my little cheat sheet. And let's run through these. So the first thing on the BookTube Freakout tag is the best book you read so far. So the best book I read so far is kind of an unfair competition because I really love The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I don't have a physical copy in here right now. Bless you. Atwood is one of my favorite writers, so any book of hers is probably going to be on my favorites list of the year. But other than The Handmaid's Tale, which again was a reread for me and I loved it, I really love The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones and Watchmen, which I read for graphic novel class. Mainly this one because it's a really good own voices horror that's slow burning, but like the horror is actually pretty graphic, and I love that. And Watchmen is so much more than I thought it was going to be based on having seen the movie. And I really want to give the movie a rewatch and maybe even pick up the show because this is just, look how dense that is. But it's so good. I can't wait to reread it at some point in the future because there's so many small details in here. There's so many toss-ups to other comics and movies and things. And I really enjoy being able to pick stuff apart like that. The next part of the tag is favorite sequel, and I have not read out of 30 books any sequels. I have read one sequel, and I guess by process of elimination it has to be my favorite, but I gave it 2 stars on Goodreads, so that does not bode well for sequels. It was Sword in the Stars, the sequel to Once and Future. It's not good. Didn't like it. I don't know if it's because I didn't read Once and Future or it's because I'm not the target demographic. It seems like it's aimed for younger audiences than me, and I think I'm just too jaded and old to enjoy it. I like the mythos. I like the idea of putting Arthur in space and also a girl. I like some of the pairings in there, but it seemed very focused on the pairing part and not the world building, which again, stupid me. If I'd read the first book, I'm sure all that would be put into perspective. But it did wrap up pretty cute. It was adorable, but like, again, I'm not the audience for it. My 2 is for me. The 2 might not be for you. Anyway, that was I guess the best and worst sequel I read. The next thing on this tag is a new release you want to read but haven't gotten to yet. And I have Bone Crier's Moon, A Heart So Fierce and Broken, and The King of Crows. And that's just 3. I have new releases that are backlogged from 2019 that I still need to read. Will I get to them? Will I get to them? Will I get to them? I mean, I hope so. The next one is most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and I have 3. I want to read The Camelot Betrayal by Kirsten White, which is the second book in the Guinevere Deception Camelot series. I don't know what it's actually called as a series. But that comes out in November. I'm very excited. I want to read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, and I believe that comes out in October or November. And Margaret Atwood has a collection of poems. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but I've got it queued up, like ready to order. I think that's also coming out in November. So fall's going to be really good to me, I think. The next tag is the biggest disappointment. And the biggest disappointment I have is a Kindle book, so I don't have a physical one to hold up, and it is Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. I enjoyed it enough. I read it in one sitting. It's very, very short. And maybe some of the other ones are good. I've heard that they get better, and like Down on the Sticks and Bones, people love that one. But I just didn't care enough about the characters and the world. I mean, the world was intriguing. That's why I read the first book, but it didn't hit. as the kids say. Do the kids say that? Anyway, I don't know. It wasn't really good. I probably won't pick up any of the other books in the series just because I have no interest in continuing it. The next on the list is Biggest Surprise, and Biggest Surprise is Beartown. There were a lot of books that I read this first half of the year that were really good and were a lot better than I thought they were going to be, but oh my god, Beartown is so good. I bought the sequel immediately because this was so good. The writing is amazing. The world building, this small town felt so real. I really connected with a lot of people, and it is a very talented author that makes you not sympathize with the villain or like the bad people, but understand where they came from and what's happened. This was really good. All the characters are really good in it, and I can't wait to read the sequel. The next is Fave New Author. I don't really have one, I guess. I read a lot of Shakespeare, and I already loved Shakespeare. I read Atwood, and I already loved Atwood. No one else is, like, hitting right, I guess. I mean, I really liked Bachman's writing, but I've only read one thing from him, so I don't know if he's a new favorite or not. But everybody else, if I liked it, I'll pick up other things that they wrote, but it's not like I'm going to sit. Well, maybe Stephen Graham Jones. Actually, this might be a new favorite author. We'll see. I have to give him another book, and definitely Bachman. I have to give him another book to find out, but we'll see. Next is Newest Fictional Crush, and I'm old. I don't usually do that anymore. I remember being in high school and in college my first time, and I'm just like, yeah, this is my fictional boyfriend, but like, my brain doesn't work that way, and also I have a whole husband, so like, my brain doesn't think like that anymore. But then I got to thinking about it, and I realized I'm pretty much in love with, like, the main cast of Darker Shade of Magic, and I can't wait to read the rest of the series because of that. Next is Newest Fave Character, also probably a Darker Shade of Magic. Like, I can't wait to see what these idiots get up to. Like, you ever met those characters? They're dumb idiots, but, you want to see them succeed and also possibly kiss some. I call that my dumb idiot OTP. I currently am watching Voyager, and Tom and B'Elanna are such dumb idiots, and I just want them to be happy and kiss a little bit. That's what these characters do to me. I just want them to be happy and maybe kiss a little bit. The next is a book that made you happy. I wouldn't say Handmaid's Tale made me happy, even though I'm happy reading my favorite book. Like, it's favorite, but it's not like I left that book enthused. I do love Twelfth Night. I had to read that again for Shakespeare, and it is one of my favorites, so this definitely made me happy. And then one that Gina sent me on my Kindle that I do not have with me right now, Woven in Moonlight, was just full of my favorite tropes. I love masked vigilantes, and I love, like, mistaken identities, and when, like, the person falls in love with, like, this other person, and they don't really like this one, but, like, they turn out to be this. I'm spoiling it, but, like, look it up if you like the masked hero trope kind of thing. Most beautiful book you have received. Definitely Woven in Moonlight is pretty. I mean, I can only see it in black and white on my Kindle, but it is a very gorgeous cover. I think this copy of The Tempest is just amazing. Look at the detail in that. Like, you see, I guess this is supposed to be Miranda, and this is like Prospero and all this kind of magic and stuff. But this particular edition was what my teacher had us read in class, and I think that they are all pretty gorgeous. But The Tempest, just the evenness of this makes my little heart happy. I would say this one I really like. This kind of silly, wacky 70s cover, but I did not read this edition this year. Notice I said this year because I read 12th Night all the time. But I also really liked Safari Honeymoon, a graphic novel I read for class, because look at the detail in this thing. Like, and just the whole thing. It's like Junji Ito, but like soft, I guess. And the whole thing is very like ecofeminism and like relationship power dynamics, and every now and then it's interspersed with like really clean, cute line art like you would draw on the margin of a notebook while you should be taking notes in class. So this is a very pretty book to me. Like, the whole book is like green and gorgeous, but like the cover is really pretty. Last is, what do you need to read by the end of the year? 32 more books. 32 more books. I would lie to you and say there's certain books that I need to read and will read, but I won't. Illuminae has been on my shelf for 2 years. I have Owlcrate books from last year up into August that I still haven't read. House of Salt and Sorrows. Who? I haven't read her. This was my mid-year freakout tag. I've never done one before because I did not have my channel until last July. So this is the first time I've been able to do this. And, yeah, so that's what I've been reading. That's the tag. If you want to do it, do it. I don't think tags on BookTube work like old school tags where you have to, like, tag 6 friends to do this. You know, I'm old. Just don't listen to me.